Hey everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to the Storytime channel. Without wasting any time, let's get into our stories of the day. Entitled Karen Throws an Apple at Me, Gets Kicked Out. This story begins when I, 20-year-old male, was shopping at my local grocery store. I'm just minding my own business when I hear someone over my shoulder ranting about how soft the apples on display were. I turn around and see a lady right in front of me fuming. For storytelling purposes, she will be known as Karen, myself as me, and the helpful employee as HE.
Excuse me, do you know where I can find some better apples? I felt all these apples and they're all soft.
At first, I thought to myself, why are you even touching all the food during a pandemic? Little did I know, the worst was yet to come. I'm sorry, I don't work here.
Well, you're wearing a mask. All the workers here are wearing a mask.
This is a good spot to mention I live in a very conservative town where people, especially the older ones, haven't been social distancing much or wearing masks, and sure enough, this lady was no exception. I'm telling you, I don't work here. Now, please leave me alone.
Where's your manager? I'm personally going to have you fired for this.
At this point, I'd had enough and began to walk away. This was until I felt something hard hit my shoulder. This lady just threw one of the apples at me. Did you just throw that at me? I asked.
You weren't listening to me, so I had to take matters into my own hands.
At this point, an actual employee walks over and sees this commotion and asks us what's going on.
Your employee here is being very unhelpful, and I'd like to speak to a manager about it immediately.
What she didn't know is that this helpful employee saw the whole thing and isn't buying a word of what Karen is saying. Ma'am, I saw the whole thing and I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store now.
What do you mean? I haven't done anything.
It takes the employee threatening to call police before Karen finally gets the message and leaves the store. The employee apologizes profusely and says this isn't the first time he's dealt with that same woman, and if she does it again, he's going to call the cops for real. After that, I just continued my shopping like nothing had happened and was just trying to forget about it. Looking back, I wish I would have said something sassy to the lady as she was leaving, but honestly, I was just too much in shock of what happened to do anything. So let me ask you, this lady chucks an apple at you and hits you with it. What are you gonna do in this situation? Let me know in the comments below. I don't work here and I'll shame you for not helping. I was at a big box electronics store where the employees clad in blue polo shirts are known to be expert ninjas in escaping customers. I was wearing a blue button-down unsuccessfully trying to find a network card. Not a specialized card, just an effing network card. When a customer asked me a question about video cards, I watched a blue-shirted employee slink behind an aisle to escape the customer. I got a little upset and I thought I'll do this jerk's job for him. I could see he was just standing in the other aisle listening, so I proceeded to help this nice but confused man. He needed a video card but didn't know what to buy, so I worked with him on what he was going to use it for and was able to suggest a card for him. Just as I finished, another customer who was patiently waiting for me to finish with the first customer had a hard drive question. After working with him for about a few minutes, I had him sorted right as another customer started to ask me for help. By this time, a squadron of geeks stopped their work to watch what was going on, slack-jawed that someone was actually helping customers. Imagine 5 stunned Napoleon Dynamites watching me pretending to be an employee. After helping my 5th or 6th customer, I was starting to gather a line of customers looking for help. A manager finally walked over. I would guess confused someone was helping customers, and asked me what I thought I was doing. I told him, I'm helping your customers. He was frowning now and told me sternly, you can't do that, you don't work here. I told him, apparently none of your associates work here either. I saw the hiding employee quickly look down the aisle with a mix of shame and fear on his face before he went slinking off to safety. Now the manager was really frowning, so I asked him about my commissions on all of the sales I had made. I told him I was flexible if he wanted to just give me in-store credit. He asked me if I had what I needed so I could check out. I told him, I can't find parts or your employees, so I'll just go. I thought it was a good idea to beat it before I got banned from the store. Personally, I'm not the premier person for conversation with strangers, so I feel like I would probably, sorry buddy, point out the employee that was hiding an aisle over doing absolutely nothing and properly refer them to somebody that can help them. It finally happened to me. I was in one of those dollar stores because the H-E-B grocery store was too hard to get into with COVID precautions and such. I had an H-E-B grocery bag in my hand. I was looking at the selection of mac and cheese and wishing I wasn't. These two women came around the corner and without hesitation, they started asking me where stuff was. I looked behind me to see if they were talking to someone behind me. They were not. I squinched up my face, I had a mask on though, and said, "I don't work here, lady." One of them said like, "Well, you got the bag and stuff." My bag was from a popular grocery store. For the life of me, I cannot comprehend why those women thought I worked there. And no hesitation either. It was automatic. They never even stopped to wonder if I worked there or not. I'm starting to think people just don't care at all. Like, they'll see somebody just kind of standing there and they'll be like, "This is the person. This is gonna be the person that I call an employee and demand that they find everything for me." And then it goes down 7 other roads, but I don't get it. High schooler versus Karen. Backstory. This happened when I was in high school and when my parents had funky work schedules. What I mean is sometimes dad worked overnight and mom worked till maybe 6 or 7 at night. Sometimes it's vice versa. One is off and one's working. In other words, every day a different shift. Since I had a car and a permit to drive without an adult at the time, I drove myself to and from school. Some days, if my parents could not go shopping for dinner, they'll give me a list and the money to go get it. My high school had uniforms: tan or navy blue pants, belt, black shoes with no markings, Nike logo, etc., navy blue or tan dress socks, orange or powder blue polo shirt. The particular shade of orange they wanted was a pain to find. When it was cold, you could only wear the school's jacket that didn't really keep you warm, or a navy blue or burgundy color sweatshirt. Also to note that we had to wear some school wallet thing around our necks, I don't know the actual name of it, and had to have our school ID in the visible part at all times. The uniform plays a big part in the story. Speaking of which, let's get to it. One day, I took a detour to my local Wally World on the way home after school. Parents wanted spaghetti, but forgot a few ingredients. On this particular day, my uniform was black shoes, navy blue pants, polo shirt, don't remember but doesn't matter, and since it was cold, I wore a navy blue sweatshirt. Still had my school wallet round my neck, since that's where I put the shopping list and grocery money I received that morning. Then I went inside. A while later, I had most of what I needed and was about to get one last thing: pasta sauce. As I'm looking at the varieties, I hear an "excuse me" from behind. Thinking I was in someone's way, I moved over. A moment later, someone is grabbing my arm and turned me around. It was some lady that, as I'm now older and worked in food and retail, was a few steps below the Karen type. I was scared and wanted to hit this woman. However, 1, wasn't a confrontational type person back then. 2, at the time, mom was still in the army, so causing trouble here might get mom into trouble. I didn't want that. It was just me and her on that aisle, so no witnesses to what might happen. So when this lady spun me around, I froze. Let's call this lady K. "Don't ignore me." "Sorry ma'am, do you need something?" Getting some words to come out my mouth.
"Where can I find the fruit snacks?"
"I don't know ma'am."
"How could you not know? You work here."
What?
"Your darn uniform. It's obvious you work here."
Finally letting me go as she now points up and down at my uniform. "But ma'am, not sure I'm even old enough to apply here. I'm still in school." Karen gives me this confused look, then noticed my school wallet with my school ID showing. She actually took a look at it and noticed the year to graduate was a few years away. She then turned pale and backed up.
"I'm so sorry,"
she yelled as she bolted out of the aisle. I was still a bit shaken. I booked it to the nearest checkout, bought what I had, and drove home. Later that evening, I told my parents what happened. They hugged me and said I did the right thing. We later talked about keeping my shopping runs to a minimum till I was comfortable again going alone. Taught me a few things to do if I'm ever in a similar situation again. And if I was with them and I happened to see Karen again, point her out and let them deal with it. I'm not sure what that meant at the time, but I was sure I might not want to know. People need to keep their darn hands to themselves. Who walks up to somebody and spins them around? Even if I did work there, I'd probably get fired pretty quickly for the kind of attitude I would be giving this lady if they tried to do that to me. Not a doctor. This is a story about my parents, but still strange nonetheless. So just after my parents got married, they were living in London because my father is British and my mother was in the hospital for kidney stones. Things were not looking great, so my father stayed in the hospital with her for a bit. The doctor thought my dad was a junior doctor and went up to him and said, "That patient in bed 13, the American, things are not looking good. I believe she'll check out by midnight." Just then, the nurse comes running in and tells the doctor that's the husband. The doctor turned back around and said, "We're doing all we can to help her and I'm sure things will be fine." He took my dad into his office and poured him a glass of scotch. Yeah, he didn't work there. Notice, she's fine now. This was back in 2002 and never had any problems after. Well, I'm certainly glad OP's mom is okay. That blunder is so bad it almost reads like a comedy sketch. Lady yells at me for no reason. Gets banned from the store instead. Backstory. I am 15 and I live with my mom and brother. My favorite color is blue and I happen to be in Walmart. I am 5'7" and have a slightly deep voice and some facial hair. Meet the cast. RL is rude lady, RM is rude man, and E is nice employee, me is yours truly, MM is my mother, NC is nice customer, M is manager. Story. I was in Walmart 2 months ago, before this pandemic, with my mom. We're getting normal household things. My mom asked if I could go and get our milk and I said yes. The thing I was wearing happened to be similar to Walmart's work outfit. While I was getting the milk, the rude lady came up to me. She looked maybe around 70.
Where is the yogurt?
I turn around. Huh?
Where is the yogurt?
Sorry, I don't work here. I didn't know where the yogurt was and I was in a rush.
What? Yes you do, you're dressed in the attire.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I honestly don't work here. I'm only 14 and this place only hires staff older than 16, I believe. In comes her husband. What's going on, honey?
This employee,
Points to me.
won't point me to the yogurt.
Sir, please help us to the yogurt.
I don't work here.
Oh my god, I don't care if you're on a break. Just get us the goddamn yogurt.
An actual employee walks by. What's going on here?
This rude employee of yours won't help us find the yogurt.
Ma'am, he doesn't work here.
Yes, he does. He's wearing your attire.
Sir, he honestly doesn't work here.
Get me your manager.
Manager comes over. Manager says what seems to be the issue. I say I was trying.
I asked this employee to point me to the yogurt and he said I can kiss his butt. I want him fired.
I'm thinking to myself, did this lady just say what I think she just said? Manager says, ma'am, he doesn't work here.
Yes, he does. He's wearing the outfit.
Manager says, sir. Looks at me. How old are you? I say 14.
He's just trying to go away from his duties.
My mother comes over and says, what's going on? Manager says this lady thinks your 14-year-old son works here. The lady's face goes pale.
Well, I just,
She even said that I swore at her. I didn't. My mom got mad and yelled at her. In the end, she got banned from harassing another customer and we got a huge discount. Thanks for reading. So the person says they don't work there. An employee says they don't work there. The manager says they don't work there. At what point do you realize that you're in the wrong? School color were orange and black. I was about 14 when this happened, but I looked 18. I was so excited. My new school jacket had come in and I was wearing it all the time. My dad asked me to come with him to the hardware store. This hardware store was known for being very difficult to locate any assistance. As we walked around, people kept looking at me, but it looked like I already had a customer, my dad. When I stopped to look at something and I was nearly besieged. I eventually had to turn around and show the school name on the back of my jacket. They all laughed. I removed the jacket and ran to find my dad. Imagine the feeling when you're in a hardware store and you stop for 1 second and you find that there's a crowd of people that are starting to gather around you. I would have ran out of there too. But with that being said, that's all the stories we have for today. So what I want to know is which of these stories were your personal favorite and why? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you all so much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and don't forget to turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.